Welcome to the Minding Your Money podcast. I am Deb Howard, your abundant life coach.
And I am Love Pate, the anointed architect and mindset mentor.
And we are excited to have you here today joining us for this discussion. So today I thought we'd talk about, because I know it's getting close to engagement season, we'll start seeing all the pictures on social media of, she said yes. Or here's the ring and all the good stuff. So I thought it would be a good time to talk about, what you look for. What do we look for financially, right? I know that we all have our type, right? Whether it's tall, dark, and handsome, or I don't know, short, fat, and stubby. I don't know, whichever one. We have our type visually, right? Physically that we're looking for. But do you have a money type? I know we all want somebody that's rich, but let's bring it down a notch. So yeah, I'll share a few things that I look for. All right. And I'll see audience and love, if you guys agree, if you guys look for the same things. So the first thing I look for is I start on the first date. All right. Because I never choose the restaurant. I always let the gentleman choose the first time. After that, yeah, I pick. But I let him choose first because number one, that's going to give me an idea, right, of how much he wants to spend on a dinner. I mean, it really will. That's the first thing. Ladies, I would say, or gentlemen, if you're watching, you always want to pay attention to all the signs when it comes to money, because you're getting an insight of the person that, if you're looking for marriage, you're getting insight on how this person thinks, what they consider expensive and what they don't consider expensive, right? So I always let them choose the restaurant. And I always tend to allow them to give me suggestions on what to eat at the restaurant, right? I do that because, again, that gives me an idea of their budget, because obviously they're not going to say something that's over their budget, right? They're not going to, everybody has a budget. I always assume that everybody has an amount of money that they want to spend. So I always do that because it tells me a lot about them. Just those two things: choosing a restaurant and picking or making a suggestion, right? I don't ask them to pick, but give me a suggestion of something that, would be good to eat here. I've never been here, even if it's Papa Do's, child, anywhere. I always give that line. I haven't been here before. Give me a suggestion of something to eat. And usually that kind of tells me, right? If they say, oh, the soup and salad is good. That tells me something, right? Or, or if we go into this great burger. So, an example. I was dating this guy. I'm not going to say dating. We went on a date. I'll leave it at that. We went on a date. And same thing. I said, you pick the restaurant. Child. He took me to the we fry fish market. In the neighborhood, right? Not even neighborhood I live in now, but the one I grew up in, right? We fry fish. Girl, look, if y'all know what I'm talking about. I hope y'all know what I'm talking about. It was in the hood. It was suspect as far as the cleanliness situation.
He was balling on a real budget.
I was really afraid to go to the bathroom, even though I needed to go. So that was a one date, because right there, and I won't say that I'm bougie, but I will say that
you like the finer things.
For first date. So that told me right there. This is what that told me, y'all. We're not on the same train economically, right? Because that's not, I know somebody out there saying, oh, you are bougie, baby, I am, child, but you not for the first date. You ain't taking me to the we fry fish market now. That is not, I mean, maybe down the road. If that's the first date, if that's your stretch, because listen, ladies, if it's a guy and it's a first date, usually they're trying to impress. And if they're not trying to impress, then that tells me something, right, about how you think about me. I'm
Right.
just saying. So that's one of the things that I look at. What do you think, love?
I'm still over here cracking up on the you buy we buy fish market. Okay. Um, so I like that suggestion. Because one, you get, as we're talking about money, we've talked about this a little bit about cultivating your palate for the finer things, cultivating your palate for wealth, right? So how you eat, where you frequent, right, gives a window into their palate without you
Mhm,
ever having to ask them anything,
mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And so I agree. Um, yeah, I mean, if he ain't trying to impress you on the first date, then is he ever going to try to impress you? That's, like,
Yeah.
um, and but also, I mean, did he even know you eat fish? Like, uh,
He presumed, and I do eat fish. He may have asked me. I can't even remember because it was one day. So he may have asked me if I like seafood. But
but I'm sure you wasn't thinking on the you buy we buy fish market if he was saying you like seafood. But
yeah,
in all seriousness, though, I do like that suggestion because you want to find out, like, are we in agreement in regards to our palate? Like,
mhm,
if I'm liking pork and beans and weenies and you like an escargot, like, we not
yeah,
on the same palate. And now that is nothing wrong with pork and beans and weenies or escargot, but the idea is, especially as we begin to talk about our men and our money, is agreement.
mhm,
Okay. It's the
yeah,
flow. The flow is
yeah,
in agreement. And so off top, okay, our palates are different. That doesn't mean his palate can't change, but when we get to a certain age, one of the things I would like to not have to work on is cultivating your palate. I would want you to be, as the age I am now, I would want you to be in a place where your palate is cultivated. And
yeah,
you already at a level and we're growing from there. So yeah, so I
yeah.
agree with that. I definitely agree with that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so you and I know we all have that first date, but it's really today. It's really just about helping you, viewer, start paying attention. Right.
Right.
Start, especially if you're dating, start paying attention. Start paying attention. I always look at, what they're wearing. Right. I have a bunch of brothers. So, yeah, what you got on? What kind of, does he wear designer clothes? Right. Because that tells you something. And sometimes it could tell you that they broke. Okay.
I
But
was told you looked at the shoes.
shoes, always look at the shoes, how worn they are. And even if they are worn, have they tried to clean them, right? Are they maintained?
Right.
You really can tell a lot by shoes, by fingers, right? Are
Mhm.
they maintaining their fingers, their hands, their nails, all that
Yeah.
kind of those little things. And it depends on who you are too,
Right.
right?
And
So I'm
what
really
you're
telling you
looking
about
for.
me. Yeah, and
Yeah,
what you're looking
and
for.
what you're looking for, you know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah,
Because you want a man, like, I would want a man that takes pride in himself. It's not necessarily really about impressing me. Did you impress yourself when you left the house, right?
mhm,
Like, your first date is, you know what I'm saying? What they say, first impressions are lasting. Like,
yeah,
you don't always get a do-over. And so when you leave the house, you have to ask yourself, is what I'm presenting the best version of me? Is
yeah,
this what, if do I want them, they say bet on me? Okay, should she bet on me based on what I'm presenting?
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. And I think too, in regards to finances, you really usually, right, need to be somewhat of an organized person, a planner, right? So if they're approaching you physically disheveled, not organized, I typically meet guys at a restaurant. I don't usually let them pick me up, but um, I do tend to, what kind of car, I usually want to see the car, right? I always make a point, right? Because I want to see, right, what kind of car they have. Is it junky? Is it a hoopty? I mean, all of those things, right? It may not matter as far as whether that date will continue or not. But this is giving you insight on the person that you are looking at as a potential mate or spouse in the future, right? So if their car is junky and disheveled, so are their finances.
Yeah.
I could almost bet on that. So are their finances, right? They're not taking care of their pocketbook either. I know I've seen cars where it's one guy who had a bunch of it, and some people might say nothing wrong with that. It was a problem for me. He had a bunch of he had lottery tickets and dog track receipts and stuff just piled up. Okay, you at the dog track and the gas station way too much. so, so for me, right, that was a no go, right? Because I know, and I'm helping you know too, that people like that, I'm telling you, they're not taking care of their money. If they're not taking care of their money, they're not going to take care of your money, right? Or
Right.
our money if it becomes our money. So you're really, these are signs, not just saying it's a disqualifier, but these are signs and these are hints that I need to ask more questions, right? I need to, if we get that far, right? Because I understand when you're dating, it's not always, I guess, polite, right, to start immediately asking about money questions.
Right.
So, you need some things to start looking for to kind of give you a hint at what kind of person is this? I mean, I don't want to fall in love and then find out all of this stuff, because once your emotions get into it, child, they could be, about to get carried out by the IRS. You still gonna marry.
Right.
So you want to start early, kind of just paying attention to these things so that you can ask questions. That's all. So, why you got like this brother? Why you got so many? I just ain't cleaned out the car in a while. Okay, that's even worse. That means you're
Right.
junky, nasty, disorganized. You at the gas station too much. You at the dog track too much. Listen, we're probably not a match.
And I will say, Deb, in looking at this, one of the things that I will say that whether it's your man and your money or your woman and your money, I think that what becomes important is you becoming what you want to attract. Okay.
Yeah.
So that means the first ministry is going to be at your house, making sure you're organized, making sure your money is right, working on your credit. That's one of the things that I had to realize. I can't desire what I haven't become. And so for me, I think one of the biggest things for me is me working on getting that. So I desire the man that has the palate, right, that I want. But I'm not a liability to him. I think oftentimes we feel that we desire the man that got it all, right? But he should accept us as we are. That's not true.
Yeah.
We have to become what we desire to partner in our lives, so that, because otherwise we gonna continue to attract some low frequency stuff, because we bougie, but if we ain't got our bank account and our mindset and our actions to line up with our bouginess, we gonna still attract low budget, because we're gonna have some tendencies, right, of that low frequency. So I think it's important, even as we're looking at and we're thinking about mating season, stop and say, let me do a self-evaluation. Am I where I want to be? Am I going to be an asset? Because I don't think God should present a liability to a king, nor should he present, you get what I'm saying, a liability to a queen. And if we are not where we need to be, then are we the assets that God has created us to be? So that's just my,
no,
when
great
I think
point.
about these things. Yeah.
Great point, right? Because someone who does have their stuff together is looking for the same.
Right. They're not trying to have you come in and pull their stuff down. They credit score at 900 and you come in with 450 and you average them together, that's gonna pull him down.
Right.
They're not trying to do that. Now that doesn't mean, let me say this, and the person that God has for you, okay, not only will they be able to see your potential, right? They'll be able to see your value. You may not be exactly where you need to be when you meet him, okay? So I don't want you to be like, okay, that's out the window. I ain't gonna start looking. I ain't gonna be positioned or postured because I got a lot of work to do. While you're working, God is working on him so that when he sees you, he knows, and he will be able to come in and help partner with the work you're already doing, right? Because it is a process. It don't happen overnight. You didn't get the credit score that low overnight. You might not get the credit score up where it needs to be overnight.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that during that time where you're building and becoming that God doesn't desire for you to be loved, to receive love and to give love. Okay.
Yeah.
I just think that it's important though that you do start the process, that you recognize that he don't have to accept you like that. But there may be a man who has his things together and said, I'm good, right? I
Mhm.
don't need anything from you, but God may send him to you as a partner to help you come up to the next level. Because I just believe God knows what we need. But
Mhm.
are we in the right mindset, though, that we'll be able to be open to receive it?
Mhm. No,
That's going to
I
become.
agree. I agree. It's never a disqualifier. Now,
Yeah,
it might
definitely.
be for me because, but it's never a disqualifier. And I think that what it is, because I feel like this about everything, it's
Yeah,
information. Right? If
yes,
you're going to make a decision, you got to make an informed decision, right? If
yes,
if you do fall in love with this whoever it is, and they're not financially where they need to be, it's okay if you're willing to accept it, right? It's okay
right,
if but you should have. This is what I don't like. I don't like surprises like that.
right.
I
You
don't
have all the
want.
details.
Right. I don't need to be walking down the aisle finding out. His credit score.
Is it,
Did you
is it
know?
350?
Or worse, we're trying to pay for the wedding place, and he don't. His credit ain't. You gonna put this in your name. So that's
Right,
not when we want
yeah,
to find those things out.
right,
I want to advocate that you be informed. Ahead of time. I have friends that I know personally that have married people only to find out that, oh my God, they got 10 bankruptcies and they got all these things going on
hmm,
and can't buy anything. Right. I have a
right,
particular friend that married somebody, was in love, anyway, long story. But a short story is they wanted to buy a house together. Brother wasn't in no position, to buy a house, so she could put it in her name. But then he got upset because he wanted his name on the property. Okay,
but you ain't
bruh,
in a position though.
you're not in a position for that right now. Well, it
Right,
could be on the deed, and anyway, it turned into a whole thing because he wasn't where she thought he was already. And I think it's important as men and women, that are
mm-hmm.
out on the dating scene, that may be looking at marriage at some point, or maybe that's your purpose in dating. It's to go ahead and start thinking about, right, what it is that you're looking for, what it is that you'll accept, right?
Right,
And also to start paying attention early on so that you can ease into those conversations. Because I'm talking first date, but in that dating process, I mean, I believe once you guys start getting serious, you need to have a conversation about,
right.
what their money philosophy is. Are we going to have, do you believe, and I had this with my own husband, because we didn't have to talk either when I got married. I always assumed that we would have joint bank accounts, right? Because that's what my parents did, right? Oh,
Right.
child, he wasn't trying to hear it, and it was a thing for us for a while. Now, eventually we got there, but I realized even then that, what, we should have talked about this before we got married, because we didn't
Right.
talk about it until after we got married.
And y'all married now.
Yeah, we didn't talk about anything like that. In fact, I didn't even know. God rest his soul. My husband was a good man, died, but he didn't even have a bank account, child. He kept money in a box from the Navy under the bed. He cashed his check, and
And
I
put it
had
in
a
the
bank
box.
account, and I was like, we put the money in the bank so we could, pay the. Yeah, yeah. So we got there, but we should have talked about all those things way before we got to the altar. And so
Yeah.
now I'm an advocate for that. You need to have the conversation way before you guys get serious. Who's
Right.
going to pay what? What's their philosophy? Some men, everybody has a different philosophy of how the household should be ran,
Right.
right? So some men might say, hey, I think everything need to be 50-50. Some men might say, hey, I'll pay the household bills, you pay whatever bill. I mean, whatever that is, right? It needs to be discussed so that you're not in a position of saying, I didn't think it would be like that, or I
Right.
thought you were going to pay everything. I thought we'd have, one account.
Right.
You have to have those conversations, and I think definitely, depending on what your goals are, it's important to have that conversation with them in that dating process. What are your goals? What is it that you want to achieve? What objectives do you have with your money?
Right.
Right? Because
That's
again,
that's key.
agreement, right? Are
Yes.
we in agreement? You know, I share for me, I want to buy a lake house, right? So if I have a home, so if I did meet somebody, then that person I would expect would have some kind of goal, and I would hope, right, that we could align on something, right? Maybe it's not the
Right.
lake house, right? Maybe he wants a beach house. I don't know, but you got to have those conversations, because he
Yeah.
might also say, I don't want to buy anything else. Right. I think we should just save money. Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So you do need to have the conversation. What do they think about credit? Right.
Yeah.
You don't have to ask him his credit score. You can just ask him, how do you feel about credit? Because that'll usually tell you right there. They'll tell you, hey, I don't think credit mean that. That means they got bad credit. So or I think credit is very important. It's
Yeah.
this and that. That's going to tell you that, okay, this is someone, and even if their credit is not great, if they have that opinion about credit in general, if they can give you some real feedback about why it's important and stuff, then that tells you that, hey, this is somebody that's willing to work on it, or they are working on it, right?
Right.
They're not flippant about it. So yeah, those are some things, but I do think it's really important. There's a lot of things that you can ask and look for, but those are some things, right? Just really making sure that your emotions, yes, we want our emotions to connect and all that kind of stuff. We want to have a chemistry, but we also need to have money chemistry.
Yeah. So, what I was thinking and just in listening to everything that you said is it goes back again to this alignment piece, like off top, right?
Mhm.
Um, the biggest thing is you don't want to stay in the honeymoon phase too long to where your head goes out the window, right? And that we don't think about those things. You said you want a lake house. I want a plane, right?
Yes.
My own plane. Okay. And in saying that, like if you're talking to somebody that thinks on a very basic level, right? That sees money on a very basic level, that haven't thought about investing and flipping money and making money work for you. And you come talking to him about a plane. They're
Yeah.
like, what? Hold on. I had
Yeah.
somebody say, well, none of my friends want a plane. I said, well, you got the wrong friends.
Yeah.
Right. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is not only is there a religious alignment, right, but as
Mhm.
you said, there's a financial alignment, because you gotta have something behind the goals. Like I can write down a whole bunch of goals, but if I don't have the right mindset or the right determination and the right, what I'm saying, focus and all those things to obtain those goals, then they just things on the paper, right?
Yeah.
You say, I want a lake house. And they say, okay, so this is how we gonna do it.
Mhm.
We're gonna set up this and we're gonna pull this out. And if we do it this way, we can flip it. This is how much percentage we'll get back on this money, and we should be able to do it in this
Mm.
amount of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or the person that already got money stored up and say, listen,
Yeah.
I already have enough to put a down payment on that. Now it's up
Yeah.
to you, because you all are joined.
Mhm.
Is this a good time for us to make that decision? So it's a lot of factors, a lot
Mhm.
of times we kind of fly by our seat with our money, and that's the reason why our money kind of flies away, because we don't have a real plan for it. Right?
Yep.
It does. I know y'all could be like, I had $100 and you said, I am not going to break this $100.
Yeah.
And as soon as you break this $100,
Yeah.
at the end of the
It's
day, you
gone.
might, where did it go?
Yeah.
Where did the money go? And
Yeah.
so I think that's the thing, is choosing a mate that you're aligned about how their relationship with money. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Now, like but also understand there's strengths and weaknesses. Okay, so if you're in a relationship and you're not the best budgeter for money, then that's not your assignment.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. It might
Absolutely.
be his assignment. Okay.
Yes. Because you know what? He doesn't have to be good at it. But what you want to know is, are they in agreement? Do
Right.
you agree that we should have some kind of spending plan? We should talk about things before we
Budgeting
buy
or
it, right?
yes.
My husband and I, at the time, both of us were very impulsive. It's no wonder we had money issues. Both of us were very impulsive spenders. We tried to get it together, but if he saw something and he checked the account and it was money there, he would buy it. And
Come on,
I
that's
would
what
do
it's
the same
spending.
thing. We do the same thing, So again, and these were mistakes, right? These I'm giving you things that we did that, okay, viewer, you don't want to do. You want to connect with somebody, not that they have to be good at it, but are in agreement that this is the way we should do it, right? Maybe you are the one that's going to manage the money, but you're not going to be able to do that if that person doesn't believe or agree that we should. If they're going to say, well, my money, you can manage
That's
yours.
your money.
you want to keep a budget your money. Okay, you got a problem. Right?
Off top.
You got a problem. And it's an important, and look, I'm going to say this too, because this is a true statistic. Money problems is still, and it has been for decades, one of the top reasons for divorce.
Number one, about like almost like number one.
It's been number one for decades, right? It might have slipped a little, but it's always in the top reasons for divorce. So, with that said, you need to make the money discussion a priority conversation, especially when you start getting serious, before the ring goes on the finger.
Right.
And you really do. Right. Counseling can help, but if you guys don't talk about it before you get to that point, usually people aren't going to turn around at that point. Look, ladies, I know once you get that ring on your finger, you're not going to want to turn around. So you need to have the conversations early. You need to start paying attention early, right? Because it's early that you're going to catch things that may be a deal breaker, right? I was kidding, but not kidding in examples I gave, right? They were deal breakers for me, right? I'm not at a point now where, for one, I don't need anybody unorganized and junk and nasty. Right? I'm not trying to do your laundry. So that's going to be a deal breaker, but it may not be a deal breaker for you. But again, you want to make an informed decision, right? So you want to go in knowing, okay, I know he doesn't like dealing with money. All right, we're going to have to work through that. I know that, his idea of expensive is Pappadeaux, and my idea of expensive is Ruth's Chris House, right? I mean, you're going to have those discussions, right, about and aligning on that. One thing I've learned in dating and in my life, right, is that those things can be deal breakers sometimes for the guy, right? I say I'm not bougie, but I have some different ideas. When I think about it, and I'll give you this example. I had this guy I was dating, and I think it was Valentine. Now I think about it, and I said, I really want to go to a nice restaurant and da 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 da. And my bad, because I did not specify the restaurant.
What nice
I
meant.
just said I wanted to go to a nice restaurant, right? I had an idea, right? I had an idea of a restaurant. I was thinking downtown. We had this restaurant downtown, the Spindletop, and all that. I was thinking like nice, like lobster, like $75 plate dinner, something like that, right? Which is not this, but anyway, at the time it was expensive. All right. So the day comes, because I got to be kind of romantic too, right? Ladies, I know we kind of want some of that romance, right? So the day comes and he comes, he's dressed nice and all that stuff. Child, he took me to Sawgrass.
He was like,
no, somebody is watching and they're saying, Sawgrass is
that's a nice restaurant. This
So that's my point, right? We all have different interpretations of expensive, of nice, all of that, right? Sawgrass, okay, right? I mean, honestly, I go to Sawgrass for lunch at work. Okay. Okay. So it depends, right? And I think that those kinds of things, right, give you a view of what that person, where that person is financially. Right. Sawgrass is not a cheap restaurant. I do get that. But when I said I really want to go to somewhere special and nice, I don't know about y'all, but Sawgrass don't come to mind. And I'm not a big steak eater. So that might be why. I'm not a big steak eater. But this person knew that. So yeah, it's important to have the conversations. It's important to pay attention to the signs. It's important to know what you want, right? Where you are in the whole scheme of things, right? I think, Love, you made a great point. You know, sometimes we're looking for what we're not, right? We're looking for somebody with great credit and a lot of money, and we don't have great credit or any money. So, yeah, we do have to kind of temper our expectations, but at the same time, it's not a disqualifier, you know, because same thing, you might want to work with somebody like that. There may come a time when somebody comes in my life and you know what, I can work with that. But I know, for me, I know, right, what the deal breakers are. I do know.
Yeah.
And you have to know that too. You have to know, if you're gonna mind your money, you've got to know what your deal breakers are and what you're willing to accept and not accept, and be able to watch the signs, right? When you ask those questions, you know, yeah, I know y'all gonna do it now. When y'all ask y'all man to take y'all to a nice restaurant, now you're gonna be paying attention. What did he pick?
Exactly. So, Deb, so what I was thinking, as I know as we're about to round up this discussion, so big takeaway is the first profile that you set up is the one for yourself. Make sure that what you are seeking is what you are. Now, give yourself grace, recognizing that there is a process, right? So just because you're in the process doesn't mean that you are disqualified for the level that you're seeking. Okay, it's up to God to give you access to that person. Okay, and for that person to be able to see the potential because of the fact you've chosen to get in the process. The other thing is set your relationship or the person that you're mating with up for success. Make sure you're in agreement about stewardship of money, strategies for money, structure for money. God does everything decent and in order. So look for those things, because it's the out of alignment. If you even think about a car, it's going to pull to the left or the right if the car is out of alignment. It's the same thing with your relationship. Okay. Money is what allows us to have freedom, gives us liberties, allows us to do more, give more, right? Be able to have more of an impact in the kingdom. But when we're out of alignment, it sometimes clogs the flow, like in a sink. It clogs the flow. And then he can't trust to send resources to us because we ain't in agreement about how it's utilized. So those would be my suggestions. And and be unapologetic about the things that God has told you and the standards that you have set for your life. You do not have to settle, regardless of what your credit score looks like at this moment. You do not have to settle. We are the king's kids, okay? Be unapologetic about the standards that God has set for your life, and watch him send a person in your life that not only will meet, but exceed those standards.
I love it. I love it. Yes. Great summary. Listen, guys, thanks for joining us today on the Minding Your Money podcast. I hope you got something out of today. Some things to look for, ladies, before you get the ring on it. You need to ring the credit bureau and check out what's going on with this guy's finances or this female's finances, right? Don't go into it blind. Don't go in it without having a discussion, and definitely take those tips that were given to you by Love. So until next time, keep minding your money, and we'll see you next week on the Minding Your Money podcast. Have a great day.